Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bree Buonomo. Hi if you're new here, or hey if you've been here before. And today I'm going to be doing my November 2021 wrap up. And what a November it has been. Certainly not the November I planned for, but we'll talk about that. So without further ado, let me get into the books I read, the things I wrote, and some personal tidbits about my life in the month of November. So we're going to start off with the books I read. And surprisingly, I was still able to read 3 books this month, mostly thanks to audiobooks, because without audiobooks, I have very rarely had time to sit and read for pleasure. I think total words I've read in a real book have been 20 pages, which is not bad, but definitely not as much as I thought I was going to be able to do this month. So I did finish, like I said, 3 books, and I tried to read 2 more in the month. The first one that I finished was Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. This is a compilation of the classic Norse mythology, like the stories of the Norse gods. So Loki, Thor, Odin, Freya, Frigg, all of them. There's so many stories in here, and it's basically just Neil Gaiman kind of trying to preserve these stories and reciting them for a modern audience. I think it was absolutely excellent. This was one of those reads that I was talking to my friend Kelly Wright about Norse mythology in general, and she mentioned wanting to read this book, and this has been on my list forever. And when I saw that my library had the audiobook and it was only a 6-hour audiobook, I was like, okay, let's just do it. So I jumped in and I don't regret anything. I gave this 5 stars. I feel like it's hard to rate mythology because they're stories that have been around for thousands of years. But overall, I mean, I really feel a connection to the Norse mythology, and I really enjoy learning more about it, especially because a lot of the Norse mythology is currently being influenced by the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And while some of that is accurate in some ways, it is a lot different from the origins of Norse mythology. So I am happy to kind of get more clarification around them. And overall, I definitely recommend, if you are a mythology person, this is a need to read book. And Neil Gaiman has a fantastic voice and narrates his audiobook, so I also recommend listening to it. Next, I'm going to talk about The Wicker King by Kay Ancrum. This book was recommended to me through watching Books and Lala's favorite books of all time. Kay Ancrum was someone that she has read quite consistently, and I don't remember if this is Kay Ancrum's debut novel, but it's definitely one of their early ones, so I just really appreciated it. It was not my favorite book that I've ever read. I would probably say it would be a 3.5 star, because I really liked the messages that it had, and I really liked the dynamic of the story. It just kind of moved very fast, and I had a hard time connecting to the characters. I'm unsure if it's because it's a short book. This was also a 5-hour audiobook, so it's a very quickly paced book, and maybe that's why. But this is one of those books that should have had a huge emotional impact on me and did not. But basically, you are following 2 teens who are struggling with their identity and mental health. They both come from pretty broken backgrounds in different forms, and the one, they never actually say what it is, but I do believe he's starting to have hallucinations and voices in his head, and the other teen is trying to help cope with that and keep it a secret so that they can both stay afloat, because they are codependent on each other. And it explores this mental health lens and how a friendship or a relationship of any sort can turn negative even when you're trying to do good in that relationship. So I really do like the message. This is a book that I think I would recommend for clients and people who want to understand mental health a little bit more, but as a whole story, taking the mental health out of it and all the pieces, as a story, it didn't quite work. But I really liked the writing style. I really liked the aspects, and I will 100% give this author another chance. I just don't think this book hit me the way I was expecting it to, but I'm certain that other books by this author will do that for me. And last but not least, I completely finished Dead as a Doornail by Charlaine Harris. So in 2020, I started reading the True Blood series, or the Sookie Stackhouse series, or whatever the heck name the series actually has. There's 3 of them, I think. I think it's the Southern Vampire novels as well. Yeah, there's a million names. But this is the 5th book in the series that the TV show True Blood is based on. So If you're not familiar with Sookie Stackhouse or True Blood, it's basically following a southern girl from Bone Thames, Louisiana, Sookie Stackhouse, who is a telepath and gets herself into a relationship with the vampire Bill Compton, who is like 200 years old, and they start to form a relationship. But as like they begin their relationship, because vampires are out in the world, Sookie kind of opens up into a further world of magical beings, and she's introduced to many, many more creatures of the night, and might realize that she has some connections with them more than just dating. So that's kind of the premise. It's just Sookie and like getting involved in all of these magical creatures and their lives. But the fifth book, I can't really explain much about this book because it's a part of a series that each book builds off the last. So I can't really talk about this particular book without giving spoilers, but I really did enjoy this book. It's a pretty quick read. It's like 300 pages and it's only like it's a couple hours on audiobook. I think it's under 7, I think, or under 8. So it's not too long either, but I really did enjoy this. And this book in particular, I think, is where like the major departure from the show actually comes in, because up until book 4 there were a lot of consistencies or like things that were tweaked just slightly in the show. So this book finally really does like take a departure, because 2 main events happen in this book, or like at the end of book 4 into this book, that the show decided to not include. So at this point, I think moving forward the book series is going to be pretty fresh, and even though some names were used in this book, like people who were in the show, they had completely different roles in the book. So I do think that I'm going to enjoy the series, and it's going to be very fresh and new for me, and I'm excited. So I would just give this probably a 4-star. Like, I don't think it's like amazing literature, but I'm having so much fun reading through this series. And I do think the audiobooks are probably going to be like a recommendation from me, because the audiobooks are just so fun and they're very well done. And I really do like the narrator. I think she does a really good Sookie voice. And even though Anna Paquin I do associate as Sookie, like this audiobook narrator convinces me as well. Other than that, I have started book 6 in the Sookie Stackhouse series, which is definitely dead. And I continue to read a Deadly Education sequel, which is The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik. I tried to start this like the end of October or the beginning of November, whenever I got it in the mail, and I've only hit like page 40. It's been so long. I was trying to read through it, but November was not very kind to me as far as being able to do things outside of school and work. But I am excited. I'm going to be hitting winter break soon, and that means I will get to finally get back into some reading and writing materials. And with that segue, let me just jump into the writing updates. So as you can see by the title of this video, NaNoWriMo was quite a pipe dream for me, unfortunately. I really, really thought I was going to have so much more time than I did, particularly because of Thanksgiving break and knowing that I didn't have a ton of personal things going on in the month of November on the weekends. But that quickly changed. The first mistake I made with writing was that when I made my goal for NaNoWriMo, that was with the impression that I would have been caught up and ahead on my school papers. So at the time when I announced my video, I had 5 papers, I believe, and 1 presentation I had to write. And I was like, no big deal. I'll get them done, because some of them I'm already halfway done with. And that was true. That was what I intended to do. But I didn't get there. I didn't get ahead as much as I did. I was able to do, like, I did 2 interviews that I need to complete for classes, and I did them almost a month ahead of time. Well, the one I did 2 months ahead of time, the other one was a month ahead of time. But I had to write papers for both of them, and those papers took a lot longer than I anticipated. And one paper that I wrote, I literally wrote for like 2 solid days, one of which day was from noon on a Saturday until 10 p.m. and I did not stop writing. I actually tried to vlog it, like to be like have a productive weekend with me, and my mental health kind of fizzled out, and I just kept like, I never like updated the vlog after like, I updated a lot on Saturday, and then Sunday I forgot, and then I kept forgetting to close out the vlog, and then it was like 2 weeks later, and I was like, oh well, I'm just not gonna post it. We're gonna try again another day. So yeah, my papers consumed so much more of my life than I really thought they were going to. And possibly it's because of two things. Me, one, getting kind of distracted, and not in a way that you would think. Like, I wasn't like going off and doing stuff, but I would just kind of sit at my like desk and like zone out for a few minutes, and then like write, and then I would zone out again and I would write. So like that was my distraction, was just kind of going out of focus essentially. So it took probably a little bit longer for that. And the second is because I really don't want to, even though I could probably BS a paper and it would be fine, I don't like to sell myself short. So when I'm given an assignment, I really do like to complete it fully, even if it's going to have no value after this class, because it's not. But I gave my all for those papers, and because of that, it took several hours. So like I said, one of my papers probably was a total of 13 hours I wrote it for. Another paper where I had to transcribe a interview, that took me like 5 hours, and that was not intended, but the person I interviewed talked so fast that even though I like used an app to try to transcribe it, it took me so long to like understand what they were saying, because even my app like couldn't understand what they were saying. So it was really hard for me to transcribe that, and then that took a lot more time than I anticipated. So overall, November was pretty much slammed with papers, and every free chance I got, I was writing a paper, up into the last weekend where I could have written, but my mind was so preoccupied by papers that like I was suffering the guilt that like I should be writing a paper right now instead of writing for fun. So I just wouldn't write at all. And it's kind of sad. So with that being said, I got maybe like 700 words in my vampire novel, and like the barest bones in chapter 1. Like, it really was not much. I thought I was going to write more, and I might have been able to. I just didn't prioritize it because I had some other things come up in my life that just knocked me out of that creative flow. And I know that I'll get back into it as soon as I sit down to write for fun again, but I do think it's going to be after the semester's over. I just think this semester took more out of me than I imagined it was going to be. But on the positive side, I did do the yurt vlog, which was the first weekend of Nano. And that was the last weekend that I actually wrote anything for NaNoWriMo that was like a book, novel, fiction related. But me and my co-writer, Caitlin, we had a wonderful vlog. So I definitely go check it out if you missed it, or if you're new here and you want to go check it out. We had such a good time. We wrote about half a novel. We were doing a rom-com / like literary fiction romance, and we really enjoyed it. We got to go hiking. We used the inspiration to kind of be like meta for the book. We had like 2 writers stuck in a yurt, but we were writing about 2 writers stuck in a cabin that didn't like each other. So it was a really fun time, and I'm happy that I at least got to jump into that frame and get some writing done, even if it's been a month since I've been able to do it. But that's just, more words and more practice, and I don't regret anything. And I know once the semester ends, I'm going to be fine. It's just the paper preoccupation was so strong. So as I said, my writing, that was pretty much it. I didn't get to write much else. I did write quite a couple thousand of words and papers. I didn't actually I did it for fun. One of my papers was like 4,000 words. So like I did that as a joke of like, how many words am I actually writing? And I wrote 4 papers in the month. So, and I have 2 more due. So yeah, I did quite a lot. But that's all my writing updates. So let me know down below how your NaNoWriMo went. I know some people I talked to have already won, and some, by the time this video goes out, will be creeping closer to winning. So congratulations for those who are going to win or have won. And if you didn't, you're just more words in. I really don't think you should pressure yourself to get 50,000 as long as you wrote something. Like me, I wrote maybe 20,000 words total, and we're still doing great. So yeah. Now on to my personal tidbits. I mean, as you guys can probably tell, school continues to dominate my life. I am so happy. If all works out, I'm done with like my like physical writing classes, because if I pass everything and they don't make me take like a more advanced course, because I hope they don't, because I feel like I should be competent in what I do, but that's another story. But as long as I'm good with the classes that I took this semester, I am done with the coursework. Like, though, I got the credits that I needed to, and then next year it's just practicum and internship, which I have hopefully what's going to be a solid plan for getting those hours done so that I don't have to overextend myself and go longer than necessary. And I'm really looking forward to that, because that's not going to be, it's going to be intense, but not nearly as intense as the paperwork, because I will be able to like go right from my job to do internship hours. And I think I might also be able to do like telehealth if anyone requests it. So I am excited for that. And the place that I'm doing my internship at, which is part of the organization, it's just a different department, they're right up the road from me. So where I go to school is like a half hour of a drive, and it's through towns. It's not really easy to get to from where I live, because I kind of have to go out of the way. So I'm happy that I'll only have to go there once a week in person, as compared to 3 nights a week for 3 hours every night. So this is going to be a much excited break. Like, I'm going to have a much easier to navigate schedule, and I should be home between 6 and 7 every night instead of like 7 to 8. Otherwise, I had some personal stuff come up in my life that I was not anticipating, and that involves other people, so I'm not going to talk about it. But just to kind of understand like where my mental health is, it's not been great lately. And because of the issues I've been facing with the people that have been involved in these issues, or just unexpected complications, I won't share too much, but it definitely set me back a little bit emotionally and has been very draining. So I've been playing a lot of video games. That has been my coping skill of choice, which is good. It could be a lot worse, right? But I have been playing a lot of video games. I have not been streaming because of, again, like the mental health and the capacity to like talk with people. But I did stream Halo Infinite the other night for the first time. I just started playing Halo with my friends, and that's been really fun. I've been enjoying it. I love first-person shooters, so I'm really happy that I got to try Halo, because that was something me and my husband used to do together years ago when we played on Xbox, and it's been a while, but he's been playing with me sometimes too, which is really nice. So I've just been really enjoying that, and I'm happy. It might take up hours, and it might not be reading and writing, but I am having a blast, and that's all. I don't care. In the month of November, my TV habits have been pretty consistent. We started The Wheel of Time, which is obviously one of the like biggest fantasy novels of all time by Robert Jordan. And so far, we caught up to whatever episodes were available, and it's good. You could tell, at least I can tell, that there's definitely more in this world, and they're trying to make sure that they're going to tell a story that's going to piece together. Some of the scenes are disjointed because I think they're going to come later in the series, but they didn't come yet. So stuff is weaving together, and I'm excited to see where it's going. But I do think that the show is great so far. I am really happy to kind of continue watching it and see where the story goes. I've never read The Wheel of Time. I don't think I ever will, because of how many books there are and how big they are. You know, I don't want to say never fully, but I don't think I will. So just for what it is, I am really enjoying the series. We also started watching The Shrink Next Door on Apple TV. And if you have Apple TV, I definitely recommend it. I am not a Will Ferrell fan when he's a comedian. I don't find him funny. I find him rather obnoxious, and I've never liked any comedies he's been in. And I know people are going to probably come at me, because there's a lot of popular ones that people are obsessed with, namely like Step Brothers. And I hate it. I don't like him whatsoever in comedies. But in dramas, I actually find him to be a good actor, surprisingly. And this stars Will Ferrell and Paul Rudd. And the horrifying part is that this is based on true events. But it starts off with Will Ferrell is kind of depressed and also experiencing panic attacks. So from his sister's like push, he ends up going to see a psychiatrist who is played by Paul Rudd. And Paul Rudd kind of is not the most ethical psychiatrist. And when I was going into the show, I thought it was going to be like a do good, like watch how this unconventional therapist like changes this person's life. It is not that whatsoever. It is quite the opposite. And I'm just mortified sitting there watching it. Like, how do people like this exist? It's so bad. It's so bad. And I'm like so sad that this really happened. And nothing like, I don't want to say for me as a counselor, there's a lot of red flags watching this as like, again, something that happened in real life, and like watching it play out as a dramatization is kind of like so saddening and disheartening. And then I can understand why people give like counselors and therapists bad reps, but it really does like hurt my soul a little bit to be like, oh my God, like people like taking advantage of someone who maybe has more means than you, but is obviously trying so desperately to like cling to something tangible is just so heartbreaking and devastating. And so I'm enjoying the show, if I can say enjoying, but it really breaks my heart every time I watch it. So I would recommend it, but now also because it's like a true story, I have to stop myself from like diving into the real life story and like to see like comparisons of it, because the show on Apple TV is coming out weekly, much like the Wheel of Time, and it's not over yet. So I don't know how it's going to end. I have a suspicion of how it's going to end, but I do want to look up like the real life story after this, but I'm avoiding it because I know I'm going to spoil myself, and I'm just going to watch it as a show first. And then other than TV, we did see Ghostbusters, the Ghostbusters Afterlife in the theater, which was a fun time. I'm not like a huge Ghostbusters fan, and it's not because like I don't hate them or anything. It's just not something that I really grew up watching. But I did see the first movie, and the new one was really cute and definitely much different than the old ones because they're more of a comedy. This one's a little bit more of a drama. And with some funny moments. Again, Paul Rudd in the movie as well had some comic relief. But I really just liked the overall story and like the themes of it. It was a very like heartwarming in the end and kind of sad, but also like very like sweet and tender. So there was a lot of moments that I really liked. And overall, like, it's a good movie. It's just a good time to watch, and I think anyone can really enjoy it, even if you're not like the biggest Ghostbusters fan or hadn't grown up with it. So it kind of has something for everyone, and I really enjoy that as well. And on that note, I don't really think my life has been much more interesting in the coming week so the week that this goes up, this will actually be my birthday week, and I will be turning 30, which is a wild time, but something I'm just like at peace with. I'm not mad at all. I think I'm going to hit the best decade in my life now. At least the decades that I've lived. I think it's definitely worthwhile to get to this point, and I have a feeling that 2022 is going to treat me very well. So, cheers to 30. I'm going to try to have maybe a vlog dedicated to my birthday weekend, because there's a lot that we're doing, which is kind of strange, but I'm really excited to do it all. And yeah, that's all. That's all I got. So thank you for watching me ramble and all of my weird and non-really fun updates that I've had. In 2 weeks, I will be absolutely done with my semester, which means I'll have 4 weeks of a break, 4 weeks of doing all of my end of the year videos and just catching up with all of you lovely people. So if you've got this far in the video, let me know down below what kind of buddy read you would like to see, because me and Autumn Ashley, we're reading the Passage series. And if you've been on this channel, then you might have seen some of those live streams that me and Autumn have been doing. But we decided that we're, at least not for now, we're not going to continue with the third book. Neither of us really liked the second book as much. So instead, we are thinking about reading a Victoria Schwab book, V.E. Schwab. So we were either thinking of reading Vicious or A Darker Shade of Magic. I have technically read A Darker Shade of Magic before, but I don't remember anything about it. It's been a while, and I listened to it on audiobook and don't think that was a good choice for me for that particular book. And I've never read Vicious. Autumn has never read either. So let us know down below what book you think we should pick, and if you would want to join us in that buddy read. We'll probably do the live stream early January because of the holidays, trying to let that pass. So you'll have at least a month to read it with us. We'll make an announcement both on our channels when we pick it. But I'm going to give you a preview now. Go pick which one you would want to read with us, and we will see you in January for the discussion video. Otherwise, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks for letting me ramble, and thanks for subscribing. I have gotten so many subscribers lately, and I want to cry with how just happy I am that you guys are here and hanging out with me. It really means the world to me, especially because I have been more absent in the last couple months with school. So the fact that you guys are still hanging around and supporting me really does mean the world to me. So thank you so much. And until the next one, I'll see you then. Bye.